Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My goodness, it's been a long time since I posted a video. So, by way of an update, we had a really early winter last season, which translated into a phenomenal ski season for us here in northern Utah. Record-breaking snows. Alta, for example, picked up over 900 inches of snow for the season. But anyway, I started skiing in November, middle of November, and skied all the way up until the middle part of April. So I wasn't filming during that period. And we had so much snow, the hiking trails didn't open up until about probably 3 weeks ago. You were still trudging through snow, trying to make these hikes. And deep snow too, like still 4-foot drifts in the middle of May. And amazingly, I caught COVID about 3 weeks ago. And fortunately I got the new variant or mutation out of India. I think they call it Omicron Arcturus, which is a form of COVID that does not attack the lungs. So it laid me out. It laid me out for a while, but I am on what I hope to be today, a 16-mile hike, at least a 16-mile hike. And so I figure that I'll consider myself cured if I can finish this hike in fairly good shape. I apologize about the sun. It's fairly hard on this section of the trail to find an angle where the sun is not coming onto the, there we go, maybe that's a better way, coming onto the screen. I'm on a windy section of this trail. This is not a trail that I have done before completely, so it'll be fun to see where it takes me. So, the purpose of this hike is to do a Q&A about the rim to rim. And so, let me start off with the first question that I received more often than any others, and that is, what do you do if you have to poop along the trail? So, if you're worried about that, let me tell you that there are rest areas all over the rim to rim trail. So for example, just taking the Bright Ancient Trail, you have a restroom right at the top of the trailhead, then you have one at 1.5 Mile House, then you have one at 3 Mile House, then you have one at Indian Gardens. Actually, Indian Gardens has been renamed. I just can't remember the name of it now. You have one at Indian Gardens. Then you have one between Indian Gardens and Phantom Ranch. And then you have a restroom at Phantom Ranch. So, on the Bright Angel Trail and the North Rim Trail, the North Kaibab Trail, there are a lot of rest areas. Just check your map. Now, going down the South Kaibab Trail to Phantom Ranch, I believe, again, I'd encourage you to check your map, but I believe that there are 2 rest areas on that 7-mile section between, well, I guess technically 3. One at the trailhead and 2 between the trailhead and Phantom Ranch. So there are plenty of places where you can take care of your business. So, that's question 1 out of the way. The second question that I was asked most often is, what piece of gear, sort of optional piece of gear, would you recommend above anything else? And my answer to that question is, in terms of optional gear, is a hat. I just think, as relentless as that sun is, I just think it is foolish to be out there in that sun and not have a hat. And preferably a white hat with a long brim. But a light colored hat, I think, is essential for keeping that relentless sun off your head. You know, and particularly in June, July, and August, there are very few shade spots along that trail throughout the day to give you a break from the sun. The next question I was asked by a number of people was, how did I handle blisters? And I really don't have a lot to say about that, because I did not, in all the hiking I did down there, I did not get one single blister. I wore good socks. I wore sock liners inside my socks, but I wore darn tough socks with some sock liners. And not only did I not get any blisters, I also did not lose any toenails on the hike. However, I do want to say this. On the south to north route, I was really surprised at how many people I ran into who were having blister problems. Now, the first time that I did the north to south route, I didn't run into one single person that complained about blisters. But on the south to north route, I ran into these two women, who were at Manzanita. And they were trying to make it up to the top of the north rim in clip-clops because they said their blisters were so bad. Now, I had some KT tape with me, and I offered to tape up their shoes, or tape up their feet, but they said their blisters were so painful, the thought of putting any tape on top of those blisters was just too difficult for them, and they opted to try and make it to the top wearing their clip-clops. I saw another fellow who was limping so badly, and boy, and this was also down at near the Manzanita area, and he still had to make it up the north rim. And again, his limping was due to his blisters. And I offered again to give him some KT tape, and again he said the same thing. The blisters were so bad he didn't want to take his shoe off. He was going to try and make it up to the top of the north rim. But blisters were not a problem for me. One thing I would say about it is that you hear people from time to time say, on those hot days, you know, jump in the water and get your feet wet, etc. And I'm telling you, doing that is an absolute ticket to severe blisters. Do not get your shoes wet. Do not get your socks wet. You are begging for trouble if you do that. So another question I was asked a number of times is, what kind of shoes did I wear? I actually wore Keens. They held up very well, not too heavy, great traction, very comfortable to hike in. The one thing I would say about them, though, is, and this could just be me, but I had to really hike probably about 35 miles to break the Keens in during training before I stopped getting blisters and hot spots. So one of the things I would suggest to you is that if you're going to buy a new pair of hiking shoes to take on the hike with you, and again I've said, wear the lightest weight shoes that will give you some insulation between the ground and give you decent traction. But if you are going to get new shoes, make sure you take the time to work them in. I know I'm doing a little bit of huffing and puffing on the trail today, but I think part of that is that I haven't really been doing much hiking because of the COVID and how long it took the snow to melt out. And also I think it's probably some of it is the after effects of or the lingering effects of the COVID that I had. But I'm at this point, I got this new nifty smartwatch for my wife from Christmas, the T-Rex 2. But at this point I'm 5.5 miles in on the hike, which puts me about, puts me about 1.5 miles from the summit of this hike. And then I do a downhill for about 3 miles. And then I do an uphill for what I think is going to be about 2 miles. And then I am going to do a downhill for what I think is about 3 miles to get back to my car. So we'll see what the total distance is. Another question I was asked a number of times is, if you only have one car, is it possible to do a rim-to-rim hike? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. There is a shuttle service down at the Grand Canyon that runs between the North Rim and the South Rim. And you'll have to, I think it's called Canyon Transportation or Grand Canyon Transportation. But if you just Google the Grand Canyon Transportation, you can find the exact name. In fact, what I'll do is I will get the exact name and put it down in the comments section so you can find it. But anyway, they run a shuttle in the morning from the South Rim to the North Rim, and then in the afternoon from the North Rim back to the South. So depending on which leg you are working, you can get back to your car. Now, as far as overnight lodging, because I think that in most cases you're going to have to overnight in order to do it. But as far as overnight lodging is concerned, there is lodging just outside the park on the South Rim, and there is a small lodge about 8 miles from the park boundary on the North Rim. I don't remember the name of the lodge, but I'll put that in the comments section too, the North Rim Lodge. And it's small, but they will also transport you back and forth to the trailhead if you make arrangements with them. And one fellow told me, and I didn't question him as thoroughly as I should have, but I'm pretty sure he told me that you have to on the North Rim drive by the lodge on the North Rim, and I think he told me that they dropped him off right at the driveway, so it saved him one direction of commute. But even if they don't, they'll make arrangements to, at least in the past, they've made arrangements to pick you up where the shuttle lets you off at the trailhead, and also to take you back to the trailhead the next day. When I did it a couple of years ago, it cost me $25 one way because honestly, my wife didn't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I paid the shuttle to take me down to the trailhead. And they were very nice, very, very pleasant people. Very nice place to stay, has a restaurant there, and very convenient. So yeah, don't let the fact that you have one car, you've only got one car, don't let that stop you from doing the rim to rim. You can fairly easily make arrangements to get shuttled whichever direction you need to be shuttled in. The next question I received is, are you going to go back and do it again? And the answer to that question is no. I've done the rim to rim to rim. I went north to south when I was 71, and I went south to north when I was 72, my 72nd birthday. So I've kind of done it. And I don't feel a burning need to do it again at this point.